Good morning. Spirit has been so loud this morning. So I definitely just felt that urge to come on and share, what was coming through for me. And something I've noticed is that I've learned how to cultivate this peace in my life. But you know how it is, contrast is always going to come crawling back in to see where you're at, to see where you can expand more. So things kept happening that were out of my control, like just random things in life, like just feeling attacked, and I had no control over it. And that's really challenging because our egos and as human beings, who've lived a majority of our lives in survival mode, even if you've been financially well off, you came from a financially well off family, there's still this survival mode that comes with it that's not even related to that. It has to do with this lack of love and this lack of unconditional love in our lives based off of the fact that our parents didn't get that and their parents didn't get that. And it just wasn't learned. It wasn't in our culture, right? And we try to substitute it in different ways. But at the end of the day, we're all kind of in this survival mode. And we unconsciously are programmed to be victims in a way. And we focus on our problems more than we focus on what we want to create as creator beings. Like, we're just trying to be a part of this program and to fit into the program so life can be smooth. Because at the end of the day, our egos just want to protect us, right? They're not necessarily this bad thing. They're just always pointing us back into ourselves when the ego creates this contrast, because the reason it creates it is because you're trying to control what's happening instead of just like flowing with what life brings to you. So when things, like I was saying when I initially started talking, when things start coming in and it's out of your control to fix it, it feels so debilitating. It's like a very big spiritual lesson. And that's what's been happening to me lately. And this quote had come up randomly during my day, and I was like, oh my God, like this is the lesson I'm learning right now, right? And it was that which you damn damns you. So it's like almost like that which you're angry about, that which you're upset about, that which you're putting your attention on in your life, this thing that you want to fix, is exactly what's going to be reflected back to you, because that's where your focus is. So if you're angry about something, it's angry at you back because you're putting your focus on that anger, right? So say like you feel like attacked by somebody, but you can't like control it. It's out of your control. You can't even fight back. It's just like you feel powerless. So what you could do is try to give a lot of times we'll just keep stewing in our mind. You can't even sleep good at night. You can't focus even to watch like maybe like a TV show. You can't even focus on that because you cannot stop thinking about this thing happening to you in your life that you can't control, right? Like I see a lot of that coming up in my experience. So Spirit's really wanting me to share, like when you feel like powerless in a situation, it's calling you to surrender. It's calling you to say like, wow, this is showing up for me for a reason. It's not just like out of the blue, like my mind wants to think it is. Like, what have I ever done to like attract this, somebody attacking you from the outside, right? When you're just over there trying to cultivate peace. Like that's all you want is just to keep this peace. But life throws these lessons at you because it's asking you where you need to expand in love, where you need to like grow, where you need to like brush it off. Like, you know what I mean? Like say you're being, I don't know, somebody, like maybe your kid's on a sports team and one of the other parents is just like, you can tell they're throwing negative energy at you. Okay, I'm a mom, so I'm just gonna use this example. And you could go say something to that person, right? Like you could just tell them like, maybe what, like a lot of times with people like that though, you can have a conversation with them and it's not going to get anywhere because misery loves company. And it's just like miserable people want to make other people miserable, whether they've done anything or not, because all they can focus on is the negative. All they can look at in other people is the negative because that's how they look at themselves. They're very hypercritical of themselves. That's like the Karens of the world. Like all they can see in others is negative, and all they want to see is negative because that's how they feel about themselves. And if they were to actually sit and not focus on others and not project their hate and their anger and everything they feel towards themselves on others, they'd actually have to admit that that's how they feel about themselves. And most people aren't even ready to go there yet in their growth process. I mean, like, there's a ton of, like, think about, like, your parents' age. Like, my dad's in his 70s. Like, this man is not going to change. I'm not saying there's, like, something wrong with my dad or anything. I'm just saying, like, older people who've been doing in these programs for their entire lives, and they're, like, pushing into their, like, older years. You cannot sit here and expect them to suddenly take accountability and have this huge growth experience in their life. I'm not saying that can't happen, but I'm saying you're not out here trying to change people so that you can feel better. You accept that person for who they are. You forgive them for not just them, it's for you. It's so you can be, like, in this level of acceptance of, like, who they are, who you are, the situation as a whole. And it is what it is. And you can still choose love. You can still choose a happy day where your mind's not distracted by this problem that's going on in your life. You can choose that because you have a peace in your heart about it. And it takes practice. It takes practice. Like, for me, sometimes it'll take a few days. Maybe it'll take a week. It only took me a day for the last one. And it was, like, something that was actually a big deal. Like, an attack on me that was, like, a big deal in terms of my, like, attack on my character. And it's like, whoa, like, when you know for a fact, like, XYZ or whatever's being said isn't true, and you just want to be like, wait, that's not who I am. You know, you want to fight for yourself. And it's just like it's like something where it's a mental thing, like, where you really have to evaluate the situation and say, okay, like, what is the highest version of me to show up in this situation? Like, what is the highest version response in this situation? How would I be feeding my ego? Like, what response would be feeding my ego? And and like, very defensive and very, like, caring what other people think. And it's like, you can maintain your peace. You don't even have to acknowledge this, you know? Like, if you just, like, ignore it, and I'm not saying, like, push your shadow down. I'm saying evaluate the situation and realize somebody's projection of you is a them problem. It's not a you problem, right? But, like, a lot of people who are, like, people pleasers are always, you know, you learn that in childhood. If you're always people pleasing your parents, you're probably people pleasing the whole world now. Like, just trying to keep the peace because you value that peace, and you know deep down you're, like, a good empathic person. But, like, people are going to project because people are going through their own trauma. And if you're in their general vicinity, like, that might come back at you. If you work with somebody, if you live near somebody, anything like that, like, you can't necessarily control them projecting onto you if you're in that environment. And sometimes you just can't help it. Like, that's where you have to be in that given moment. I could get technical and saying that's where you have to be, but it is what it is. Like, we're playing in this matrix as human beings using these avatars, right? So, like, this is just us getting through life. We could be everything's so paradoxical. We could get technical with everything. Like, and that's the thing about energy in life and how everybody's on different frequencies. Like, your perception could come from, like, a million different angles. That's why when you're very narrow-minded and you can only see life in a certain way, and you're just so programmed and, like, you just can't get out of it, like, you don't realize how much you limit yourself because there's so many different timelines all existing at the same time. So many different perspectives all existing at the same time at different frequencies. We all might be in the same place, but we all aren't in the same place in a frequency mindset. That's why, like, even an interdimensional being can phase in and out because they have such a control over their frequency, and they're able to, their base frequency that they've grounded in is in a higher frequency. So whenever you see something come into your experience, they're actually lowering their frequency to be able to physicalize, to even be able to be perceived by you. So, like the quantum physics of everything goes really deep. But the the point, I just went off on a huge tangent, but I feel like it was meant to be heard because it all comes back to this interconnectedness and that everything is happening right now in this present moment. You get to choose that frequency in any given moment. And that's what we're here to learn as human beings. And we'll keep reincarnating through these cycles until we do. So the more at peace you can get with where other people are at and where you're at and how to set boundaries with things and people, the better off you're going to be in this experience as a human being, understanding why you came here. And it is just to anchor light and expand in light as an aspect of source. We are all source. We're just playing this role in order to help source expand and to help others bring up the frequency too. There's so many little tangents of like how we chose to come participate for so many different reasons. But if you want to bring it down to one main reason, it's just to anchor light. How can you create light? Everybody wants to make some purpose that has to do with money and all this kind of stuff. And yes, that might be a part of it. It might not be though. You might really be anchoring light in like a way where you are so taken care of, but it has nothing to do with like this business you made a lot of money from. Like everybody wants to be narrow-minded in that like box that our matrix has set up for us. And you know, we have bills to pay, but in the same breath, like, where is your faith at? Like, what level is your faith and your connection to source that, you know, like, you're not even thinking about the bills and money and everything else, because in any given moment, you're just being this expanded aspect of source, like emanating your light and grounding it in so others can like feel that. Like your aura, like the more you expand, the more you can touch others, and you don't even have to say a word. You don't have to say a word. And a lot of times when you're touching others, you'll see them, they get triggered. It's not necessarily, oh, I just had this magical experience with so-and-so. Like, yeah, it is that a lot of times, but a lot of times it's like, whoa, your light is shining so bright on their shadow and it's really aggravating them. And you might get attacked and you want to take it personally, right? And it just comes back full circle to when this conversation began, when you feel attacked, someone's making an attack on your character. And you want so badly, your ego wants to take it personally and they want to fight back. They want to say something. They want to whatever. And then you, if you can get into this, instead of feeling like, oh my God, someone's attacking me and getting all worked up about it, get in this very peaceful place of acceptance and recognition of where everyone's at in this situation. And then all of a sudden you can bring light into the situation, and you don't have to play God and let someone know what your character really is, because God already knows, the universe already knows, like your frequency says it all. Whether that person can't even perceive that. And you're shining a light on their shadow, and that's for them to deal with. That's a them problem, right? And then you come back to your space and your peace and your light, and you continue to emanate that because that's who you are. Right? You don't have to prove yourself to anyone or anything. Like, you know who you are deep down, right? So let's see a few things that I wrote down. I don't want to miss anything. Oh, that was another thing. So I took a little break from social media, but I'm still kind of active because I feel like I'm supposed to have a voice, right? In social media, but in a healthy way. And I realized, like, I've been single for a while, and I noticed, because of like my most previous relationship that I speak about all the time on here, I will like see the algorithm on my social media kind of focus towards things like narcissism, attachment styles, like wanting to learn how to fix, right? And I'm like, whoa, like this whole thing comes full circle where you're focusing on what's negative. So that is what continues you to continue to experience. Well, I'm not like necessarily continuing to experience the negative, but like nothing different is coming to my experience because I still have that in the algorithm. I'm scrolling through social media and there's so many posts about shit that like, why are you focusing on that? So I realized like you can choose to like make the algorithm not show you things about things. You can like manually do that. So I started taking off posts about narcissism, I started taking posts down about like stupid 3D celebrity news, anything hypersexual, anything that wasn't feeding me in a positive light. I started taking that off my algorithm. I'm going to create my own algorithm. I'm not going to let one day in my shadow decide what my algorithm is going to be for me on social media. So I was like, oh, I like this. Like, it's not that I'm trying to like control anything, but I'm also not allowing AI to keep me in a lower frequency. And AI is part of our experience. And like, look at me right now. I'm making a YouTube video through technology. I'm using technology to expand light. So like, we can't say, put it all in this negative box, right? Everybody's on social media. Like, if you're watching me now, you're on it right now. You know what I'm saying? So like, how can I use it in the most positive light and tailor my experience to fill my soul, not focus on what I don't want, complain about what I don't want, judge other people? That's a them problem, right? We're going to keep coming back to that. That's a them problem. We can't keep making other people's projections our problem. We just need to continue to focus on us, what expands us, what we like to create, all of that. Who reciprocates the love? Like, that's where my attention's going, right? Like, I love my kids and they reciprocate that love back to me. That's where my attention's going, you know? And like, me and my kids love to create together, and that expands so much, like self-confidence, love, like that quality time, like. And then yeah, I'm single, so I'm celibate right now, so I'm like, I can channel all that creative energy into things I love to do. I'm started my seeds indoors for my garden, even though it's literally negative degrees outside today. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I've been getting in all these creative spaces, researching things, like just I changed my office into a different area, and it's really just like switching up my environment, even like in my house, and organizing things in a different way, shifting the energies around. It's so expansive. And those are the things that I want to focus on. So like, back to what I was saying about like social media and like, just like only focusing on things that are going to feed my soul. Like, I'm not focusing on the doom and gloom, but I am focusing on the creative aspect of providing food for myself and just feeling more self-sufficient in general, and doing things in my life that are more simple and self-sufficient. It makes me feel good about myself. I'm providing for myself. Nature's providing for me. It's like this beautiful cycle that I'm getting into. So you could take it the whole doom and gloom route and just keep watching videos about the world's going to go to an end, and then start acting like a crazy prepper. Not that it's bad to prep, but what space and intention is that coming from? Is it coming from this creative space of, I love to provide for myself, and no matter what happens, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be happy and I'm going to be fulfilled because I'm doing this for myself. I would have done it whether the world was going to end or not. Like, that's the space I'm in. And prepper mode's more of a fear space, but like the intention of, I don't see it as prepping. I see it as embracing a lifestyle that I would have embraced whether the world was going to end or not, because it's of my highest good to eat fruits and vegetables that aren't sprayed with pesticides. I know I'm the one putting the nitrogen in my soil so my vegetables thrive. I don't need to spray them with chemicals because I planted a certain other plant next to it that repels the pests that like that plant that was next to it. Like, those are the type of things where you're learning and you're being co-creative with nature and this universe in order to expand from a place of like, I love this, I like to create, instead of, I'm scared the world's going to end. Oh my God, what if we all die? We better stock up all our food. You see how there's a difference in that energy? And so like, what place are you coming from? Are you coming from a creator space, a loving space, a peaceful space, a lifestyle space, or a fear-based space? Okay. Let's see. When you focus on the things you don't want, it keeps you in the lower frequencies of those things. Yep, totally. Okay, here's another thing. You meet people and things where they're at in their frequency. That's why it's critical to have boundaries with people and things to maintain focus on love and source. Too much focus on lower vibrational things will create that as your perception of reality in that moment, which is all that exists. The present moment is the only thing that exists. That's why it's so important to create these habits that embrace like things that will feed you, not drain you, not siphon you. And can we always be in those moments? No, because sometimes people are attacking us. But in that moment, we get to decide how long we're going to be in our head about it. How long we're going to decide that we care what other people think, right? Or we care about, like, we are taking their projection of how they perceive us, which is actually how they perceive themselves, and taking it personally. Really sitting down and saying, okay, person, place, thing, whatever is bothering me, what frequency is it coming from? Does it serve me to focus on that? How can I choose? What timeline can I choose? It's a higher frequency that's going to feed me in a creative, loving way. So that's just it. Remembering if the present moment is the only thing that exists right now, stop thinking that you're waiting for some future thing to be happy. You have to be the one to choose what you're going to focus on right now. You have to be the one that says, I'm stuck here, and you're choosing that, or I'm not stuck anywhere. I could be anywhere I want right now in this moment. I am here where I'm at because I choose to perceive that. And people think, oh, that's so woo-woo and airy-fairy. Okay. Play with the energies a little and let me know how that goes. And that's just like how faith is. Like, you can't force faith onto somebody. Somebody who's super pessimistic, it's hard for them to get out of those lower frequencies because they don't believe it. They don't believe in themselves. They don't believe the world can change for them. It's very low vibrational, and they genuinely feel stuck. But the truth is that they're not, but they refuse to acknowledge that there is another way because they would have to change in order to take that path. And change is so uncomfortable for people because you have to let go of your identity. You have to let go of the way you thought life would be. You have to let go of things that have made you feel safe, but they're really just bringing you down. You feel safe. Why? Because you get a paycheck from it, but you go there every day and it's sucking the life out of you. It's draining you. You're not creative, but you feel safe. So just keep doing it. What's the point of feeling safe? It's just an illusion of safety. It's not true safety. True safety is like this sigh of relief. You know how you feel like when it's like, I don't know, you work that 9 to 5 and it's like a Friday night or a Saturday morning and you're like I don't have to be forced to do something I don't want to do right now, right? I have some freedom. And then Sunday night rolls along. I felt like this way as a student and as an employee, right? Sunday night rolls along and you're like, oh my God, you're dreading doing something you don't want to do. Aren't you sick of living that life? You know, like, we have to want to change. We have to want to perceive life differently. We have to admit to our own selves that life could be different. And that is very difficult. It was difficult for me and it's difficult for others. And I consider myself, I've always been a very optimistic person. And I had to get out of this space where I was like waiting for some future to finally be happy and just create that happiness for myself. And when I started doing that, and it was a very incremental process, took years, and it's still expanding. You'll never stop expanding into who you want to be, and what you want changes. And when I started doing that, like, you could just see the shifts in my life, and they were just happening so fast. And was it this difficult thing? And was it an easy thing? It was hard as hell. It was a difficult thing, and it still has its challenges. But now, like, once you practice and you're doing this, you're on this journey for years, you start to see things. You start to see all those little perspectives. You start to see that this moment right now, this is life right here. This is it. Like, it's not something you're waiting to save up money for, like, to move, or like a material thing, or to be in a relationship. It's not that. Like, it's totally just what you're choosing right now. Like, who are you choosing to be right now? Like, what are you choosing to emanate in your frequency right now to fulfill you? Because your light, your frequency, whether you're talking to other people or you are isolated a lot, if you're expanding and raising your frequency, you're anchoring the light, you're doing what you came here to do. Being, not projecting, not in fear, not all blah, blah, blah. Of course, you need those things in order to expand. And that's the other thing. Like, you don't get to this point where nothing bad ever happens. It's where the bad things happen and you're like, oh my gosh, that silly person who's perceiving me in this way. Like, oh, I feel so bad for them because they have a lot of work to do in themselves to feel good. They don't feel good over there. And they don't want me to feel good because they don't feel good. And they don't even recognize that that's what they're doing, you know? They don't even recognize it. They feel very justified in it. And it's like crazy. And like in those moments when you're being attacked, like it's hard. It's hard to be like, no big deal. They're just in their shit, right? Like, or when you're in a relationship and it's just not like the other person isn't wanting to grow or like, you know, expand with you and you really love them. You're just like, what the hell? You can't do anything about it. Like, it's a them problem. It literally is a them problem. And you can either keep your focus on that and get sucked down into lower frequencies, or you can choose to move in the direction of what fulfills you, makes you happy, where your focus is on something that is fulfilling you, not draining you. And until like, in terms of a relationship, until a person can either show up and match your happiness or even add to it to expand it, then it just will never work. It will always go, you can come in, you can try, and the bounce back is so fast. Like you can't maintain it. Unless you can meet each other exactly where you're at, you will not be able to maintain it. And you don't want to play back and forth games. Just go anchor your light, and whatever's meant for you will just come into your experience and it will match or expand with you. And usually if you have somebody that's able to vibrate the frequency of you and you're like been on this journey for a while and done a lot of your healing work, it's a beautiful experience to have somebody else do the same. The expansion is insane. Like what you can do in terms of anchoring light is insane. Like you could go do grid work. Even just going with them or by yourself or with your dog, whatever, on a hike through the woods, like you don't even understand the amount of like expansion in that. That's why a lot of people get downloads when they're just like on a walk in nature. Like all of a sudden the downloads are coming through, you know, you're like, oh shit, let me just get my phone out and just like share this because it's so quiet. Like you're so at peace. Like most people can't even like get out of their head enough to think, I need to go for a walk right now. I need to go get out in nature right now. Like that's our matrix that we live in. People that are like, I need to go escape through shopping or food or this or that. But to just like go connect with nature and feel like, oh, this is what I need today. Like that's why downloads come through. Because you're choosing source, you're choosing connection, you're choosing to focus on something that fills you. And then spirit will then fill you, and then you can expand just by even sharing a message. Like if you get a download, you do what I do. Like just get on YouTube and like reach hundreds of people and then go about your day, right? There's something very fulfilling in that. Like I wish I was making more videos, but I know I'm over here integrating a lot. And then when I'm called to, I will. So what if a month goes by and I haven't made one? I'm working on myself. I'm expanding. I'm where I need to be. Why would I beat myself up for that? But when I do come through, best believe it's the truth. It's the real. It's what I'm called to do. It's not some forced thing to make money. Everything I do here is donation based. Half the time is nothing because I have been in this integration space and haven't made videos, and that's okay. Because the fulfillment isn't even about material things or monetary things. It's about here. This is where the fulfillment is. Like, that's priceless. There is no price. That's actually our currency, is our frequency. In this life experience, our currency is the frequency which we vibrate at, our emotional state of being, recognizing the present moment is the only thing that exists. So stop trying to put off your happiness for the future, because right now is the only thing that matters. You can have what you want now. And you don't even know what you want. If you're wondering, oh, I want this thing in my future, then you don't even know what you actually want. Because if you knew what your soul actually truly wanted, you know you already have it right now. You're just choosing not to focus on it because you haven't learned how. And it's okay, because we were all programmed. I'm still programmed. There's still so many moments where I'm like not perfectly like, oh gosh, like focused on source. No, I'm a human being. You're a human being. We're all human beings, and we have those, we need that contrast to expand, because if it was always just positive, there would be no self-reflection. There would be no like, oh, that's what I need to look at. Oh, that abandonment issue is what I need to look at. Oh, that anger is what I need to look at, you know, which in turn actually ended up being sadness and this and that. And you go through that healing process. Everyone is where they're at. And when you're connected to source, you'll get those synchronicities. You already know, like, source will show you. Just trust and have that faith and recognize who you are. You know who you are. You felt it. If you're watching my videos, you've had those spiritual experiences, because it really does have to be through your own experience. I could tell you whatever till I'm blue in the face, but it doesn't mean anything unless you have that experience yourself. You have those epiphanies yourself. You have those aha moments, and you make those changes so you can experience the change in the present moment. You can see your frequency rising. You don't even see it, you feel it, but you can see it manifesting in the physical through things that come into your space. But yeah, guys, that's the message that I wanted to share today. I'm already past 30 minutes. So I don't want to go much longer, but like, I love you. And I hope that this helped, because it really helped me. Like, it helps me to make these videos because I even more deeply reflect in my own space. So just focus on you and recognize that this moment is what exists right now. This moment is what exists. And just milk it for all it is. Like, don't let anybody siphon your moments away from being in the most highest version of who you can be, and emanating that love, and really doing what you came here to do, which was create a lifestyle that is like the most fulfilling for you and everybody around you. All right. I love you, and enjoy the rest of your day.